What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. I know it's been a really long time since I posted. There's just been things happening that have pretty much kept me from posting. Finally, everything is starting to calm down a little bit to where I can now start probably posting regularly again. And I know I'm bringing you a deck profile of a deck that I've posted twice already, but there was something to be changed about the deck due to the ban list. And Lithium recently did really well with it, and that's the Domain Monarchs, if you couldn't tell by the thumbnail, the title, and this right here. But, you know, whatever. So basically, I'm just going to show you the deck profile. It hasn't changed too terribly much from my last deck profile, but it has changed to a certain degree because of the card coming back to 3, and yeah. So let's just go ahead and get into the profile. We're playing 3 Aether. 3 Aether is your best. We're playing 3 Erebus, another really solid card. 1 Tesselos, still. I like the burn and the fact that you can look at your opponent's hand. 1 Kiraz. I'm probably going to bump this up to 2, but right now I'm playing it at 1. But I'm probably going to bump it up to 2. Now all these right here, I guess I can explain this a little bit. All these right here are your bigger monarchs and stuff. For anyone who doesn't know, Kiraz can pop up to 2 cards on the field, and whoever card you pop, basically they draw cards. So you kind of just want to pop 2 of your own cards so you could draw 2 cards, but it could just come up as this basic removal. Tesselos can burn for, you know, time, if it came down to it, or it could just give you basically information on your opponent. Everyone knows what Erebus and Aether do at this point. They've been here forever. Next up is the 2 Vanity's Fiend and the 1 Majesty Fiend. I'm probably going to bump Vanity's Fiend up to 3 just because you summon Vanity's Fiend and a lot of times people just lose, which is insane. And Majesty Fiend is just kind of like another one of those cards that you could play that kind of makes it hard for your opponent to play. I don't really know where I was going with that. Next up is basically like your little guys that you use the tribute summon with, and that'd be 3 Adia, 2 Eidos, and 1 Mithra. I'm probably going to wind up cutting one of these Adias for a second Mithra, just so I can run 2/2/2. Mainly because the hand traps that are being played now, Adia is just going to get hand trapped just about every single game. Same with the Eidos. While Mithra, you could just pretty much special summon her for free. I mean, you give your opponent a token, but usually you're going to be domain locking, so they're not really going to be able to do anything with that token in the first place. But, I mean, it doesn't really stop you from tribute summoning, because it's not really using any real effects. It just special summons itself, which is nice, which is why I want to play probably 2, maybe even 3 Mithra, just because it's that much better. But I do probably want to keep Adia and Eidos at 2 because I still like them and I think they're still very good. I've seen some builds where they play 1 Adia, 1 Eidos, and I think I've seen a few builds, I've even seen a few builds actually that don't play any at all. So, you know, whatever. Onto the spells. Triple Tenacity. Pretty much in my previous deck profiles, I talk about how Tenacity was the best card because Pantheism was at 1. And this card's still really, really good. It's still one of your better spell cards. It can search your Pantheism if you manage to not draw it in your opening hand. It can search your domain if you don't have any way to get to it. It can search any of your Monarch Speller traps. So that makes it still pretty decent. Definitely one of your better spells. Then you play Triple Domain, of course. We're playing Domain Monarchs. You want to domain lock as much as possible. Domain makes it easier to get out your bigger monarchs. So on and so on. I don't have 2 more copies of this, but 3 Pantheism. I wish I had 2 more copies of it because then it'd look better in the profile. But 3 Pantheism, this card's back to 3. Deck still bricks with it at 3, but it's a lot better with it at 3. I can say that much. It is more consistent with 3 Pantheism. And I'm happy that it's at 3 because this is one of my favorite decks to play, honestly. It's just a lot of fun, really. It might not seem like fun, like looking at it, because most people are going to look at it and say you're just pretty much domain locking and sitting there. Well, it's not really all of that, but that is a pretty big part of it. But it's just fun to see your opponent try and break your board, and then whenever they do somehow manage to get past that domain, you have other stuff like Vanity's Fiend and Majesty Fiend and Floodgates and stuff like that that they have to get past, which is just fun to mess with your opponent. But 3 Pantheism. Next is Triple Stormforth. This card right here is actually really good. It's good for if you lose die roll, it's good for if you win die roll. Either way it goes, you're probably going to be able to get rid of some. It's almost like a kaiju, but attributing your opponent's monster to summon one of your own monsters, which is cool. It's also a quick effect, so that's really neat as well. Playing it on your opponent's turn and stuff, so you'd go like, you'd use it whenever you're using your Aether to summon on your opponent's turn. That way you get rid of a monster that your opponent has that you don't like. And, that's cool. It's a neat interaction, really. 2 return. I've seen some people play this at 3, and I can understand why. Pantheism's at 3. The more you can discard, the better. Because Pantheism's draw effect is not once per turn for anyone who doesn't know that, but the banish effect is once per turn, so that's something to keep in mind. So you could, if you draw 2 Pantheisms, you can technically draw 4 cards if you have cards to discard, so that's something to think about. But I only play this at 2 because I don't want to brick on it, and I feel like 2 is better than 3, and 1's just not enough. So, yeah. I guess for anyone who doesn't know what this card does, basically, let's say you tribute summon Aether, you can then search for basically any of your monsters that you have to tribute summon, being any of your big monarchs plus Majesty Fiend, because you can't search Vanity's Fiend, sadly. Then we play 1 March. I like March. A lot of people don't play it, but I like it. It's a neat card. It makes it harder for your opponents to get around, tribute summon monsters. It's just neat. That's really about it, honestly. Play 1 Rhoda. It searches your Adia. That's pretty much it. It just makes it to where we're playing 4 Adia, which is why I can pretty much cut down Adia to 2 and feel pretty comfortable, because either way it goes, I'd still be playing 3. So, there's that. 1 Upstart. We're playing 41 card Monarch, so Upstart, sure. I mean, even if I do take out 1 card to make it a 40 card Monarch deck, I'm still going to keep the Upstart just because I like it. It's a cool card. It's neat. You're technically trading your Upstart for maybe something that'll unbrick you or just make your hand better. Then we play 1 Goddess Scold Oracle. This is like a little tech card that I'm playing that I kind of took from basically Mystic Mine, but I wanted to put it in Monarchs because you can use it to look at the top 3 cards of your opponent's deck and rearrange them, which is pretty good if you ask me. So it does help, but it does kind of hinder you. So basically what you're going to do is that, let's say you activate it on your main phase, then that keeps you from normal or special summoning. So usually whenever you're activating this card, you're already in the lock. You're at that point to where you don't need to normal summon or special summon. You have your lock, and you don't want them to get your lock. You don't want them to break your lock, essentially. That's the only reason I play this card, because I want to hold my lock. I don't want them to draw that card that'll get them out of the lock. So that's basically the only reason I play it. You can pretty much cut this card to then play a 40 card Monarch deck. This is probably the card that I would cut, just so you're not playing a 41 card Monarch deck. But it is a neat little interaction. It does help keep your lock in place. If you don't have your lock, then you're pretty much not going to be activating it at all, because you're going to want a normal or special summon to get bigger monsters out on the field. Then we play 1 Erupt. This card's really neat. I played this over the other trap, Escalation of the Monarch. I played over that because it's an interesting card. It turns off pretty much all the effects on the field, all your opponent's monsters on their side of the field off, which is kind of cool. Well, all non-tribute summon monsters effects are turned off. My bad. Which is kind of cool. It's a neat little floodgate, and at the end of the day, if you don't need it, it's just something that you could discard for Pantheism. I play 2 Prime. I've seen some people play this at 3. I think 2 is better than 3. I don't really ever see a reason to play 3. I've never run into the point, not the point, I've never run into the situation to where I needed 3, so I'm not really going to explain too much on that card. And then finally we're playing 3 of a Floodgate, basically. We're playing 3, there can only be 1. This hinders your plays maybe every now and then, but not too much, honestly. There's not really ever a time to where there can only be 1 has pretty much stopped me from doing anything. Usually whenever I'm flipping this up, I'm pretty sure I have game. Because if you have like your domain lock plus, let's say, Majesty Fiend, and then, not Majesty, Vanity's Fiend plus there can only be 1, I don't really see your opponent breaking your board at that point. And even if they do manage to get past the domain and the Vanity's Fiend, they still got to get past the there can only be 1. So it's just more insurance, I guess you could say, for winning. But yeah, that's basically my version of Domain Monarchs. What I'm playing, how I'm playing it. So, you know, if there's anything that you guys want to talk to me about on the deck, or, you know, any kind of deck profile that you're wanting to see, let me know. I will be trying to bring videos back as normal as possible. But anyways, that's this deck profile. Hope you guys liked it. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.